What if there is a version of you that is reaching back to you right now in this timeline because you're watching this video? And what if just as much as they are reaching out to you, you are connecting to them? So imagine that there is an alternative version of you. What quantum physics is showing us is that there's an infinite number of realities that exist, that they all exist right here, right now. They're just tuned to different frequencies. And depending on the energy you are embodying, that is what is determining which reality you are perceiving of. Now think of it like that of a television station. You know that on channel 1 on your television, there's a certain frequency you perceive of. You can use your remote, which you could think of when it comes to reality creation as how you think, how you feel, how you act, as to which channel you perceive of. So if you want to perceive of what's on channel 3 or channel 7, if channel 3 or channel 7 is you in a loving relationship with the abundance that you've always intended for in your life, if you want to perceive of those realities which already exist right now, then you must energetically tune to that reality using your remote. And you can think of your remote as your vibration. Now, what I want to show you in this video is the most important lessons I've learned when it comes to shifting through these different realities that has completely transformed my own life, that has taken me years to learn, and was the missing key to me going full-time on YouTube, creating the abundance that I have to travel the world doing what I love, making an impact and running live events, living life on my terms. This has all come because I learned what I'm about to share with you in this video. And it is a radically different perspective than you create your own reality. You don't create your own reality because you don't have to create the other television stations because they already exist, right? Like you don't, if I give you the remote and I'm like, yo, could you go create channel 3 and channel 7 for me? You don't have to go hire producers, film a whole bunch of episodes, hire networks and advertisers to then put it on television. And then you come back to me and you say, hey, Aaron, I did it. Here's channel 3. No, you just energetically tune how you think, how you feel, how you act using that remote to the reality you want because it already exists. Now, this is exactly, by the way, back in 2017, I felt like there was an alternative version of me that was telling me, make videos every day on YouTube, your life will transform. And when I committed to that, that's when my life transformed. Now, one of the first things, I want to share with you some new content as well when it comes to this thing I'm learning that comes from a book called Atomic Habits that can really show you how to shift the being frequency, the energy you're embodying, how that compounds over time. So one of the first things we're going to talk about is that of the mere reflection of what you get in life. Now, the way our reality works and these alternative realities work is, let me first off share how I came so fascinated with this idea. Back in 2011, no, this is like 2009. 2009, I was working at Nordstrom Rack, which is, I worked in women's shoes, but it was not sales commission job. It was like an hourly. And I was driving to work and I was inside, there were these different lanes. I was in the far left lane and there was a median, like a concrete median on the side that was like 4 or 5 feet tall. So it's not like I could just run over to the other side of the oncoming traffic. Now what happened is I was in that left lane and I was getting ready to make a left-hand turn in a little bit. However, there was this huge semi-truck that was merging to the left. And as it was merging into my lane as if it didn't see me, it was going to crush me against the median. And there was a moment where I felt this anxiety because I knew there was nothing I could do. There were cars behind me, so I couldn't just stomp on my brakes. And what happened is all of a sudden, I felt a jolt. And then it was like I was 50 feet behind this truck and there were no cars behind me. And it was such a bizarre experience because I knew there was something metaphysical that happened, yet I couldn't put my hand on it. This is before my spiritual awakening, so there wasn't some metaphysical understanding of it. Nonetheless, I felt this jolt of energy. I felt like I was for sure going to die, and then all of a sudden, I'm behind that of this car, of this semi-truck, and I didn't get hit. Now, there was another moment as well, years later, when I was living at my dad's house and I was riding to work on a moped, of all things. And I was in the left-hand turn lane as well. What is it with left-hand turn lanes? And I'm getting ready to turn, and there's this street with this hill, and the light turned green for me to make a left. Like it was a green light, not a green arrow, which means I could just go. But there was something that froze me from being able to go ahead. And right 2 or 3 seconds later, as I was frozen, this huge truck, it wasn't a semi-truck, it was like a white big pickup truck, flashes by me. It was because of the way the hill was shaped, I didn't see it coming. So all of a sudden, it would have for sure hit me if I would have went. So in an interesting way, these two situations always were kind of like what was going on. I knew something metaphysical happened. And then years later, I had a session with Bashar, who is a channeler. It's kind of metaphysical and kind of esoteric, honestly. But I remember asking him what happened, and the message that I got was, you actually died in those different parallel realities, but it wasn't your time to go yet. So you shifted yourself back and shifted a couple variables so that you didn't die. So in a parallel reality, I may have actually died when that semi-truck hit me, or something, or as a negative timeline, and that other one as well. That always fascinated with me though, and that kind of put me on a path of wanting to learn everything I could about this idea of parallel realities, parallel universes. So first off, that was the seed that was planted for me to learn more about this. And then when I started learning more about this, the law of attraction I always thought was was a powerful idea that your thoughts create reality, but something about parallel reality shifting for me always resonated more because I understood that who you are being, how you think, feel, and act is what you are experiencing a mere reflection of. Now, this means, if you stare at a mirror, a lot of people, they're waiting for the mirror reflection to change. But understand, reality is just a mirror. It is reflecting back to you the expression, the inner attitude, the inner way you are thinking, feeling, and acting. So it can't change until you change. This is where a lot of people get stuck because they're waiting for the mirror to change. But the way reality works is you must first change. Now, this is why also, if you look to Carl Jung psychology, it talks a lot about how we project onto other people the unconscious shadow side of ourselves. So the things that you hate about other people are things that maybe haven't accepted about yourself. So what's interesting is that things in our life are mere reflections of our energies and are also our belief systems. What are the stories you have about people? What are the stories you have about love? What are the stories you have about abundance? Because those stories are beliefs that are being mirrored back to you. For a long time, I believed that people were trying to control me. I always had people in my life I had to fight for freedom against. I had a belief about women after my ex-stepmom left my life that women were controlling and manipulative. Guess what kind of women I attracted in my life? Until I forgave my ex-stepmom and changed what I was embodying, that was my reflection. Always had a manager where things weren't fair. They'd get away with things because they were protected by upper management, very similar to childhood, because that was an autopilot story. Now, the cool thing is that once you become aware of your stories about reality, your stories about people, your stories about relationships, that's where you can then begin to become free, because the stories are the limitation. The stories are what's on autopilot. So if you have stories that say that abundance and money is not natural for me, if you have stories that say money is bad and relationships, you think you want a relationship, but also you may be having some form of intimacy block, or you may be afraid of connecting with someone in a deep way. So subconsciously, you can't experience that mirror reflection because there is an energetic block there. So understand that one of the things an alternative version of you wants you to know is that everything in your life is a mirror reflection, and you can change that mirror reflection by changing how you think, feel, and act. but also by changing your dominant stories about reality. They're just stories. At one point, you may have been afraid of the boogeyman, and then all of a sudden you weren't afraid of the boogeyman. And if you're still afraid of the boogeyman and you're a little bit older, it's okay. You can change that story too. At one point, something shifted, and then you didn't believe in it anymore. Or maybe this is your reason to shift, believing that there's a boogeyman under your bed that's trying to get you. But there's fear that was generated when you were a kid and you didn't want to you were jumping around your room because you didn't want it to grab you from under the bed. Was that just me? But then eventually it goes away because you shift your beliefs, you shift your story. So first off, realize that you can shift your stories. That's how you should, the only thing holding you back from the reality you want to experience is the story you tell yourself about who you are and why you can't have it, why you aren't it already. So remember, the next thing is that it already exists. It already exists now, just like the other television sets already exist now. Using your imagination, that is what helps you connect to that version of you. And then you have to be the one to give yourself permission to be it. And the moment you start it is the moment you are it. It's one of the most important things. Because everyone waits. Everyone says, I will be this one day. They wait. And for years, I was waiting before I started making videos on YouTube, waiting for the right camera equipment, the right time to feel confident, for the fear to go away. It will never go away. It's your current identity. Think about it like Joe Dispenza talks about, right? The way you think, feel, and act is familiar. And we are addicted to familiar. And familiar is very similar to the word familial. So we are creating over and over again similar family dynamics without knowing it because it's subconscious. But what happens is what we think of as fearful is not what we do in our daily activity. There's someone that is fearful to even leave the house or at a coffee shop to even ask for their extra whatever in their coffee. Creamer in their coffee. They have anxiety around that. You may not have that, which shows you there's different, what's familiar is different from person to person. But in the same way, there is a version of you that is not afraid to put yourself out there. There's a version of you that's not afraid to ask that person out. There's a version of you that is not judging themselves, that is not having certain insecurities. There's a version of you that already is confident, that already exists. And that's why you're watching this video, because you are going to learn to embody it in this video. So understand if it already exists, the key is thinking, feeling, acting as if it's already here now, which is what I did. I started to be a full-time YouTuber. I saw myself as a full-time YouTuber, which then we're going to get into Atomic Habits, which is one of the most popular books that's all about little small things you do every day, how that makes an atomic difference over time, and how that changes your sense of identity. Now, let me share with you how I've been using this in my life. Atomic Habits. So first off, in 2017, I started to make a daily YouTube video. That daily video changed my self-image. I remember months later, people were asking me, how are you able to make videos every single day on YouTube? And after it became my autopilot, because remember, what's familiar is what's on autopilot right now. What you do repetitiously compounds over time and it becomes autopilot. So people say, how do you make videos every day on YouTube, Aaron? That's crazy. Other YouTubers would say this to me. And I would say, I have a gift. I'm just kidding. I'd say, I just done it so many times, it's easy. It's autopilot. What do you mean? It's not hard. So by me being that version of myself every day, look how that shifted if I didn't take on that one daily habit, I would not be here in front of you now with 1.7 million YouTube subscribers, hundreds of millions of views, and an abundance to travel the world, do what I love. It was through that daily action. Other daily actions people can do. Go to the gym. Another daily action I did recently. And one of the things it talks about in Atomic Habits is doing one little small thing you do every day, but how you can also stack them. So for example, every day, how am I applying this right now? Well, one, I let go of something I was doing every day. I was doing this little, I talked about it in a recent video. I was doing this little tobacco. It was ceremonial tobacco in this little liquid thing. And it had herbs in it, essential oils. It wasn't psychedelic or anything. But it go up the nose. I know it sounds intense. And you feel really relaxed. I was doing it for a year. And then one day, I decided to quit. And one of the ways I decided to quit is I let go of it being a part of my identity. I said, I started to identify with just being completely sober because I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything else, but that was one thing I did. And I only did it once a day, and it was just to relax, but I was like always rationalizing it. So what I did is I saw myself as sober. I let go of that. And now it's been about a month now, and I feel so much more level-headed, so much more clear. So that's one thing I let go of. On the other side of this, I got a sauna that I use every single day. It's part of my daily routine. I go to the gym, and on the way home from the gym, I start the sauna. And on my 2 days off a week from the gym, I use the sauna and I go for a long walk. Now with that, I can tell that's detoxed my body a little bit every day. It has this compound effect over time. And now what I'm doing is I'm doing this specific training. Sounds funny, but I'm doing this neck training where my goal is it's called neck extensions. But basically it's a specific thing I put on my head, and it's like this neck thing I do to have a stronger neck. And before I go into the sauna, I do that. So when I associate every day going to the sauna, it's non-negotiable. It's just who I am to go every day. I do that beforehand, and now I have, in the book Atomic Habits, there's like a cue, a craving, the reward. There's like these different levels of habit. But what I do is basically I associate both of these together. So what you do repetitiously over time begins to change your sense of identity. That's where powerful transformation happens, because most people are trying to change at just the behavior level. But when you do, whatever you do daily changes your identity. So what I recommend you do is you don't have to focus on 6 years from now, what timeline are you on? You focus on 24 hours in a day. You sleep for 8 or 9 hours or whatever it is. The rest of the day, how are you embodying the frequency of the highest vibrational you? How are you thinking, feeling, and acting as that version of you, even if it's just for 10, 15 minutes a day? That's one of the things you could do every day. And then also understand that part of the atomic habits that I recommend as well is meditation. Meditation allows you to become familiar with the autopilot self, to observe the autopilot self, to not be so reactive, to then choose consciously what you want to experience in your life. Now, another thing I'll say is setting an intention. Intention has a powerful effect on our reality. What are you setting intentions? Like, here's another example. I forget where I saw this the other day, but I thought it was a great analogy. Wherever you are right now, yesterday, did you see any red cars when you were on your way to work? Think about it. Did you see any red cars? How many red cars did you see on your way to work? You probably don't remember. And you're like, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2. What if I told you every time tomorrow you see a red car, I'm going to give you $50 or $100? How many red cars do you think you would find? Probably a whole bunch. You'd be looking for it, right? When it comes to alternative timelines, understand, and just reality in general, you get what you look for. And your beliefs create your reality. If you were to look for times in your day when you're lucky, and you were to find times in your day where you are lucky, in the right place at the right time, you will begin to change your identity to be lucky. You are then going to be in the right place at the right time. Think about loving. What if you were to pay attention to every time you and a person had a special moment? Even if it's not romantic. Even if it's at your job or a customer or it's an animal. You start to appreciate those moments. How is that going to change your energetic field? You get what you look for, and your beliefs are the filter through which you see the reality. But remember, you don't just change your habits, you change your identity. And understand that your identity and your beliefs are what really changes your reality, paired, of course, with taking action, which is the habits. So one of the other aspects of this alternative you to understand is embodying the being vibration. It's giving yourself permission to be it, knowing every moment you're a new you. Every moment's a new moment. There is a parallel version of you that exists that is connecting to you, and just like it's connecting to you, you're connecting to them, because they all exist here and now. What you think of as imagination is your connection to the collective unconscious, which is also part of you, because we're all one consciousness at the deepest level. So you, through sourcing it from the being vibration, get to create what you experience in your life through resonance. So who are you being? What energy are you embodying? And understand that the more you shift into the frequency of who you choose to be, the more you will experience a different reality that is resonant with that choice. It's also a choice you make. At a certain point, I made a choice and commitment to being a full-time YouTuber. My life transformed. I made a commitment to meditate back in 2012. My life transformed. Commit. Your identity is what you commit to. And who you are being is a part of your identity. But your identity isn't, sometimes the identity is clasping to like achieve things, and it's trying to escape the present moment. There's a being vibration of meditation that I find to be very powerful as well. Now, if you want to learn really how to create a powerful shift in your life, one thing I do recommend, if you haven't done it already, is to calibrate what is called your vibration. There's something called whatsmyvibration.com, or I'll go ahead and link it below so you can see. So what's your vibration? What's my vibration? Basically, you calibrate your vibration and you get a meditation for elevating yourself to a new level of consciousness, and it will help you shift through this different process. Now, one of the most powerful meditations I have on YouTube is on shifting to a parallel reality or a parallel universe. You can read the comments and see what's possible. There are hundreds of comments of people saying they've shifted, they've created powerful transformation in their life. You can go and check that out. It'll increase the belief that it can happen for you. Listen to this meditation for 21 days and watch what happens. Here it is. This video, I'm going to be sharing with you a meditation that will shift you to a